everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Sophie and in today's video I'm going to be mood reading my Kindle TBR. So before we get into the video, please remember to like this video if you enjoy it and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content. I primarily read fantasy, thriller and romance books and I post videos every Sunday. So as I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to be mood reading for this reading vlog. So I'm not actually going to tell you what I'm planning on picking up because I don't actually know what I'm planning on picking up as this vlog goes on. So a lot of the time I do a very structured TBR for my videos. We're going to kind of go with the flow and see what I feel like picking up. So I have got a couple of recent updates for you guys. So I have read The New Neighbours by Claire Douglas. This is a thriller book following our main character Lena. She lives in this house in Bristol. So this book was really funny because a lot of the places even mentions my hometown, which was really cool. And I didn't realise that Claire Douglas actually was born in the area that I was born in, so that's really cool. Anyway, side tangent. Follows the main character Lena. She is a mother and her son Rufus is off to university and he is studying some sort of film degree. They have new neighbours that move in called Henry and Marielle Morgan, the Morgans. They meet and are sort of friendly. Rufus brings home this boom mic thing and he's got to essentially record sounds at the different times of day to incorporate in to whatever he's doing. I think it's a film degree, yeah, it's to incorporate into a film or something. And he goes out and Lena tries to help him and records some sounds in the evening, and she points the microphone at the Morgan's house and she picks up a really weird conversation. Essentially sounds like they've kidnapped or are going to kidnap a woman, and she straight away stops recording and she's really freaked out, and then she gets way too involved in what's going on. And there's now a character called Drew who she works at a citizen's advice kind of place, and Drew comes in because he likes Lena but he's also got some things that he needs advice on, and she gets way too involved in that. And then there's a whole plot with Lena's ex-husband Charlie. They split because of something that happened with Rufus. They reacted to it differently and Lena doesn't think that he really is all in on their marriage. And then we've got a couple of friends of Lena's who are really supportive of her. So Lena gets way too involved in what's going on and things start to happen, but in a way not a lot really happens. You have that at the start, you have Lena kind of getting way too involved in everything, and then you have the climax of this book with the Morgans and kind of resolution to this book. So I gave this one a 3.5 star rating. This is definitely not my most favourite Claire Douglas book I've read. I've given a lot of her books 5 stars and even 4 stars as well. This one is definitely on the lower rating. It just not a lot really happened in it, to be quite honest with you. It was well written. Claire Douglas's writing style is really easy to read and really sucks you in, and I find her thrillers are often very layered in what's going on, and like I said, we've kind of got a couple of different plot points going on but they kind of didn't really connect, which is kind of what threw me out. And I think none of this stuff would have happened really if Lena didn't get so involved in everything. And even the way that she speaks to herself, she's sort of oh, I shouldn't do this, and then she just goes off and does this thing, and it's just oh my god, I don't know, I just didn't love it, which is a real shame because this is Claire Douglas's latest release. I think this came out either this year or last year. I think it was this year. It just wasn't my favourite really. I just don't really have a lot to say about it. I read it on my Kindle, it was really quick to read and it just wasn't really anything special. I don't think I'm going to really remember it too much, and I don't know if I'd recommend it. I don't know if maybe 3.5 because I did like it. It just, not a lot really happened in it, to be quite honest with you. The middle portion, not a lot really happens. So 3.5 star rating for that one. Unfortunately, I was hoping this would be a 4 or 5 star, but it is what it is. I've got a lot of Claire Douglas books still to read anyway, so I'm hoping that, that's not me and her. That's definitely not me and her done, because I do really enjoy her as a thriller author and I'd highly recommend. My favourite one is The Couple at Number 9, but there's definitely a few others that I've given 5 stars as well. I think she's a great author. This just wasn't really her strongest, really. But yeah, that's that one. And then I am halfway through reading Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, which is a bit of a 180 on the genres here. So this is a sci-fi book and I'm really gonna try and give a synopsis of this, but it's actually quite difficult. So we follow a elementary school teacher who is also a doctor. He was a sort of professor, and he was kind of shunned from his industry for writing a bit of a controversial paper. So he is Dr. Ryland Grace. We have different timelines in this book. So we have kind of Ryland in the present and then Ryland in the past, and we flip-flop back and forth within chapters, so it can get a bit confusing. But essentially he wakes up on this ship and he has no idea where he is, who he is, even at the start. Essentially he kind of comes around, he works himself out, and he realizes that we have flashbacks that where he's remembering things. So something is happening essentially where these bacterial creatures or something like that is destroying the sun, and obviously if the sun is getting cooler, this has catastrophic effects on Earth in that like crops will die, people will die, creatures will die, and all that kind of thing. So we kind of have the past timeline where they're figuring this out, figuring out how to save the Earth, and how controversial I guess that could be, in that you're maybe solving one problem that's just going to lead to another problem, and it's got commentary about like climate change and things, which I'll get back to in a minute. And then we have the present timeline where he's on this ship and he's kind of realised where he is and what he's got to do. There is another ship out, so he's basically been on this ship for like 14 years in this coma, and he wakes up and then very quickly he makes contact with another ship, and it turns out the ship is actually an alien ship. So we kind of have him making contact with aliens, and then we have like the past timeline of him and the scientists on Earth figuring out how to save Earth. So I guess they're gonna tie together and we're gonna realise what he's got to do. And I am really enjoying this one so far. Like I said, it's got a lot of commentary on like climate change and very unhappy dog outside. So like I said, it's got commentary on like climate change. So they're trying to stop, so the sun is cooling down, so they're trying to heat the Earth up. One of the things is essentially they decide to blow up some ice cap to melt the ice caps to heat up the Earth or something. And you have these scientists whose life's work is to fight global warming, and then suddenly they have to essentially cause global warming to prevent this other issue. And it really gets you thinking about us as humanity and like our place in the world and the solar system, and yeah, it just really gets you thinking, and I think it's really good in that. The thing I'm struggling with is very sciencey, and I find myself, I'm thinking like, I hope I don't need to really understand all the sciencey bits, because especially when because you're in Ryland's brain as he's going through like, oh, I need to do this and this, and this is like, you know, E is mc squared and blah blah blah, and you think, as long as I don't have to remember all that, we're fine. It's like, it's interesting reading his perspective and him coming up with all these things, but when you're trying to understand it, I'm like, I ain't got a clue. I haven't got a clue. But I am really enjoying this one so far. It's very intense. Like I said, it really gets you thinking. There's a lot going on, a lot to kind of like soak in, and it is taking me a bit of time to get through, but I am really enjoying it. I'm about halfway through. I'm really excited to see where it's going to go. To be honest with you, I didn't really know the synopsis of this one when I went into it. I just saw it, everyone was talking about it a couple of years ago when it came out, and I know there's a movie coming out. It kind of piqued my interest to read it, and I thought it's a bit of a different genre than I usually read. Thought I'd give it a go, see how I feel, but I'm really enjoying this one so far. I think Andy Weir is an incredible author. Like, he really gets you thinking, and it's just really good so far. So I'm going to get back to that one, and I'll check back in with you guys when I'm done with it. Really good so far, and even if you're not like a science sci-fi kind of person, I would probably still recommend this one. Like, I'm not really a big sci-fi reader. I do read the occasional one. I'm definitely more of like a space opera kind of reader. I don't really tend to read like the deeper sciencey books, but if I enjoy this, maybe I'll explore a few more of Andy Weir's books and see where that takes us. But yeah, I'm going to get back on with that one and check back in when I'm done. So I've got some reading updates for this vlog. So I did finish reading Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, and I'm going to give this one a 4.5 star rating. It wasn't quite a 5-star for me, simply because there was just so much technical jargon and so much technical things going on that I just didn't really understand. It sort of went over my head a bit, and it took me out of the story in part, because there's a lot of times where the main character, Ryland, he's talking through what he's doing, and it was just sort of like pages and pages of scientific exposition, which I just really didn't understand, and it didn't detract from the story. Like, you don't need to understand what's going on to kind of understand what he's doing, if that makes sense. But I just found like myself sort of disassociating when I was reading those pages. I was just kind of like zoned out, not really sort of paying attention to them. So for that reason, it's a 4.5 star, but this is absolutely incredible. Even if you're not a really big sci-fi reader, I still think you would really enjoy this. Like, I have read quite a bit of sci-fi. I wouldn't say like I'm sort of a expert in the genre or I've read loads, but I've certainly read quite a bit, and this one was just absolutely fantastic, and I would highly recommend. It's a standalone as well, so you're not starting a series or anything like that, and it really gets you thinking about the world, our place in it, and like the character as well, which is really incredible to read from. And like, essentially the main characters of this book are Ryland and then this alien Rocky that he sort of meets, and you do have more characters in the past timelines, but they're more flashbacks. They're not really like in the story at the time, I guess. So obviously, like, you do have more characters than that, but considering most of the time you spend is with Ryland and Rocky, you really feel like you really get to know them really well, and the sacrifices that they make for their species, for humanity, for the universe really is just absolutely incredible. And you just think absolutely fantastic characters, and like the friendship that they form as well, which is really, really lovely. And yeah, it was just such an amazing book, and I'm really glad I read it. And to be honest with you, I have thought about it quite a bit since I finished reading it, and I've been like recommending it to people as well, which is really, really good. So I would highly recommend that if it sounds interesting to you. I went into it not really knowing too much about it, and I think that's probably the best way forward. Like, I've given a bit of a synopsis, but what this book is actually about is like so much bigger than that really. So yeah, 4.5 star for this one. Really, really good, and I'll definitely be checking out more of Andy Weir's books. And then I moved on to The Intruder by Frida McFadden, and I gave this one a 3-star rating. I'm not sure if I didn't love this one as much because I sort of, you know, when you read like a really amazing book and then like the book you read after is just never quite gonna live up to sort of the expectations that you have for it. I don't know if that's the reason I didn't love this book as much, but I gave this one a 3-star rating. I have read like pretty much most of Frida McFadden's backlist this year, so maybe I'm just getting a bit Fridaed out, I don't know. But in this one we follow a couple of characters. We follow Casey in the present day, and then we follow a young girl called Ella in a past timeline. And Casey is fired from her job. She was a teacher. We don't really know why at the beginning of the book, and she moves to like a remote cabin in the middle of nowhere, live her life. She gets rid of her phone and things like that, so she doesn't want to live life how we live life now, kind of thing. And she's got like a neighbour who's like half a mile away. He's like a young guy who is romantically interested in her, but she's not really interested in him. There's a bit of a creepy landlord as well who makes moves on her and like won't repair the house that she's living in or the cabin that she's living in. And a storm is coming, and she's afraid that like her roof's gonna leak and this tree is going to fall on her cabin. The landlord's not really interested. Anyway, the storm begins, and then in her tool shed she hears noises, and then she comes across a young girl called Eleanor. And then we have a past timeline of a young girl called Ella who is being like abused by her mother, and she's got a lot going on. Her mother is a hoarder. She can't like really wash herself, and like the washing machine's broken, but her mum won't get a new one. She won't get it fixed, and they have loads of food in the house, but it's all stale and just things like that. So she's going through a lot. You don't know how these two timelines tie together. This young girl Eleanor comes into Casey's like sort of POV of the present timeline, and so Eleanor is like covered in blood. Eleanor won't speak to Casey and tell her what's going on, and she suspects that Eleanor is going to kill her. And it was just a bit predictable and just a bit odd. I just didn't really like this one as much. I think the concept of it was really good, but the execution just really wasn't there. I don't know, I just thought how the two timelines linked together was, for me, kind of obvious. I feel like sometimes Frida McFadden tries to throw you off, and sometimes it works, but sometimes you're like, I know what you're doing, and it's kind of obvious what you're trying to do. And I mean, the twists at the end I didn't see come in, so that was kind of fun. It was a good thriller. It wasn't like amazing. It's definitely not one of Frida McFadden's best. It was just kind of like fun. It was a fun read, a bit predictable, but it didn't really, compared to Project Hail Mary, this really didn't require too much brain power. I could just sit and read this like on lunch at work. It was a really quick read, and it just didn't require me to think too much about it. It was fun. It was kind of like a good time of year to read this as well, because it's set in like an isolated woods, and there's a storm, and obviously at the moment it's like freezing cold outside, so the atmosphere was like peak. But yeah, it just wasn't really all that great. I don't really have too much to say about it other than it just wasn't really all that good compared to some of Frida McFadden's other works. I'm still working through her backlist. I've got like 4 left to get through, so I am going to carry on reading her books. They're just a good quick palate cleanser really, which is kind of what I needed after Project Hail Mary, but I just don't really have too much more to say about it, to be honest with you. So I'm just coming in to wrap this reading vlog up, as I have finished the final book for this vlog, which is Ready or Not by Cara Bastone, and I gave this one a 3.5 star rating. So in this one we follow our main character Eve, and literally in the first chapter she finds out that she is pregnant after a one-night stand. So the guy's name is Ethan, and she contacts him, lets him know that she's pregnant and she's going to be keeping the baby. We also have another love interest that kind of appears in the picture. So we have her best friend's brother Shet. Eve's parents died, and they were older parents. Her mother unexpectedly got pregnant with her when she was like 52. So her siblings, she's got 3 brothers, they're all quite a bit older than her. So her friend Willa, her mother was kind of like a sort of second mother to her, and her and Willa are really close. They're basically like sisters, and Willa has a brother called Shep. Eve and Shep have always really liked each other, but they've never really taken the next step into progressing a relationship, because I think both of them have been too afraid to ruin their friendship and ruin the relationship they have with sort of the 3 of them, with like Willa being Shep's sister and obviously Eve's best friend. We follow along as Eve's pregnancy progresses, and she kind of falls more and more for Shep, and Shep falls more and more for her. There's obviously the obstacle of her being being pregnant with another man's baby, and we do have kind of a bit of a relationship forming with Ethan as well. So Ethan and Eve slept together, had a one night stand, and Ethan was on a break with his long-term girlfriend Eleni. There's a whole lot of drama there because obviously Eleni's very upset by this whole thing and quite manipulative, and she doesn't want Ethan to see the baby and things like that. So there's like a lot of things going on, and it's a very character driven book. And what I didn't realise about this was that it follows Eve from her finding out that she's pregnant to her having the baby, and that's the book. I thought that the baby would be born and we'd get a few chapters afterwards as they're all kind of like adjusting to life with the baby, whether that's, you know, Eve as being a new mother, with Shep being in love with Eve but she's got another man's child, and obviously Ethan kind of inserting himself into Eve's life to have a place with this child. So I gave it a 3.5 star rating, mainly because I just didn't love it. I thought the relationships were really cute. I really loved like the friendship that Ethan and Eve had and the sort of potential for a romantic relationship there. I also loved the complicated conversations that Eve and Willa had. So Willa has been really struggling with fertility with her husband. We kind of explore how she is happy for Eve, but she's also really upset for herself, and her feelings are valid, but also Eve's feelings are valid as well. So for example, Eve wants to ask Willa to be her birthing partner, but she doesn't want to upset Willa, and then Willa gets upset because she wants to be the birthing partner but she doesn't at the same time because it's difficult for her. And it's both of them kind of coming to grips with this new situation and respecting each other's feelings around this whole thing. So that was quite a difficult topic to cover as well, and I think that was handled really sensitively. But it's also about being a new mother and things like that, and I think that this book could have benefited from a few more chapters just to see what life was like afterwards, because we literally just covered the pregnancy and that was kind of it. And I wish we kind of maybe got a few more flashbacks between like Shep and Eve. Like I did love Shep as a character, I did love their relationship, and like he would like hang the moon for her, you know. I wish we saw a bit more of that. It was very, at the beginning it was like she didn't know which one to go for. Like, does she try and make things work with Ethan, and then, or Ethan's in a relationship, so does she make it work with Shep? And I just don't really know what I think about this one. I think a 3.5 stars is a fair rating. I did enjoy it. There was some bits of it that I didn't really love, and like some sort of very cringy dialogue, like in one of the sort of more intimate scenes, some of the things that were said were just like really cringy. Like at one point Eve's sort of like, they're doing the deed and she's talking, she's like, yes, sex. Like that's literally a line, and I'm just like, oh, that's so cringy. Yeah, I didn't love this. I do have another Cara Bastone book on my TBR, I think that's like Promise Me Sunshine, so I'll give that one a go. I didn't hate the writing style. Like 3.5 is a really good rating. There was just a few aspects of it that I didn't really love. That's kind of that one. I don't really have too much more to say about it. Like the characters are really interesting. I did love how we ended, but I just wish we had a few more chapters to kind of finish off the story. It felt like the story wasn't quite finished really for me. So that was that one. I mean, it only cost me 99p on the Kindle deal anyway, so nothing lost there really. So yeah, that is it for this reading vlog where I've mood read from my Kindle TBR. So we had like a 4.5 star from Project Hail Mary, and then like The New Neighbours, The Intruder and Ready or Not were just like around the 3-star range. So a bit of a mixed bag in this one, but I'm glad to have gotten some more books off of my TBR, specifically off my Kindle one, because I do find sometimes I'll buy all these books on the 99p deals and then just don't get to them or don't prioritise them. So that's going to be it for this reading vlog. Please comment down below if you've read any of these books or any of these authors. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. Please remember to like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye.